So we found one Pareto efficient allocation, F, right? That was the one where the indifference curves were tangent to one another. In other words, the margin rates of substitution were equal. Or stated differently, we couldn't find any mutually beneficial trades. So the question is, are there other Pareto efficient allocations, or is it just one? Well, any point in the box where you have the indifference curves tangent to one another is going to be Pareto efficient. Right, so this line here, this curve, it traces all those points. Right, so F is on that curve, as are allocations like C and B, where we see that the indifference curves are tangent to one another. So at any point where we find that the marginal rates of substitution are equal and that the two consumers have no mutually beneficial trades, we call that a Pareto efficient allocation. Well, that is a Pareto efficient allocation. And we call the curve that goes through all those points the contract curve. What's notable is that these 2 points here, A and D, A is where Rob gets nothing. Friday gets all of the goods. He gets the 80 apples and the 50 bananas. That is Pareto efficient. As is the reverse, where Rob gets all 80 apples and all 50 bananas. Right? So the contract curve is typically going to be some curve that goes from this corner here to this corner up here, from the bottom left to the top right. Okay, now the contract curve is the set of all Pareto efficient allocations. It's important for me to emphasize the fact that Pareto efficiency is an abstract concept of what ought to happen, what should happen. Right? It's not a notion of what is, but rather what we would like to see happen. Right? So, in other words, for an allocation to be what we would deem a good allocation, it better be that it's Pareto efficient. Because if an economy ends up in a situation where we're allocating goods in a way that's not on the contract curve, well then we've got a problem. We could find a reallocation that would make everybody better off. So that we're leaving gains from trade on the table. Okay. Now there's some drawbacks of Pareto efficiency as a concept. The first is that it's a very weak concept, right? There are many Pareto efficient allocations, as we just showed on that curve. It's a great big curve that starts from the left bottom corner and goes all the way to the top right corner and has all these different allocations on it. All of these are Pareto efficient. In particular, like I pointed out, giving everything to one person is Pareto efficient. So one of the big drawbacks of Pareto efficiency as a normative concept, right? Normative meaning this is what it should be, right? It's a judgment that we make that this is a desirable feature of an allocation. That's what I mean by the word normative. So what's lacking in Pareto efficiency as a normative concept is that it doesn't have any notion of equity or fairness in it, right? Giving everything to one person is in no sense fair. So that's the sense in which Pareto efficiency is a bit lacking as a normative concept. But it's still an important minimum requirement for an allocation that we might want to choose as a society.